Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Pat Hickey joins us. He's an author and former Republican Assembly leader. He has a great new book. We'll talk about it on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
MAGA extremist Sam Brown has repeatedly supported efforts to ban abortion without any exceptions for rape or incest. Before moving to Nevada, Brown ran for office in Texas, where he supported the ban that had the toughest restrictions in the country, and he strongly supported overturning Roe v. Wade.
On issues of life, that is a non-negotiable for me.
Sam Brown's extreme far-right agenda is wrong for Nevada. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
It's a good time to eat. It's a good time to play.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good time's a Tamarack.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're pleased to welcome back to the program Pat Hickey. He is an author and former Republican Assembly leader here in Nevada and has just written a book called Here and Hereafter, Nevada Voices on Life and the Great Beyond. Why did you want to write this book?
Well, it was during COVID when we all had a lot of time on our hands that I started thinking about, the one thing we have in common, our human mortality. And I didn't think I had that much to offer on it, but I was interested in interviewing in depth a number of notable or prominent Nevadans to see what they thought about life and the future, including the great beyond, or is there, in fact, something like life after death or an afterlife? So that was one of the questions, but mainly the book's about their lives, their legacies, the things they've gone through. Great Nevada stories.
I think it was Albert King, the great blues guitarist, who said that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Yeah. Well, Mike Tyson, who I interviewed in this, said a death is overrated. And what he was referring to is some of his more recent psychedelic experiences where he, Toad Venom or whatever, has claimed to have visited the other side quite regularly.
In interesting days.
Yes.
So who gave you the most trouble in getting them to sit down and talk to you? Because you've got a lot of people that don't normally talk to the media in whatever sense.
Well, I was surprised that I got Harry Reid, and probably other than someone who's doing a biography on him, I may have been one of the last people to speak with Senator Reid before he found out whether there is an afterlife or not. But I was a little disappointed because he didn't hang up on me like he famously did on everyone else. He was quite willing to talk, and we talked in great detail about his life and his thoughts. And he had one of the funniest lines in the book, I thought, Senator Reid did, because I asked everyone if they were a believer who they thought they would see in heaven. In his case, would he only see Mormons if he goes to heaven? And his answer, in typical Harry Reid fashion, was, I hope to hell not.
Well, one of the things that was interesting about Senator Reid and I got to do over 30 interviews with him throughout my career over a 30-year period, was that he didn't care for doing the national media. He wasn't particularly comfortable with the national media. But as far as Nevada media, he was always willing to do that. I mean, I never had a problem calling his staff and setting something up. And what really, and this is a funny story now, and I can tell it because I couldn't have told it at the time. But the last interview I did with him, when he had his offices down at Bellagio, his staff said to me, "Can you send us some topics?" And I said, "You know, the senator doesn't want any topics." And they said, "No, we do." And the reason was that Senator Reid told me that if he knew the topics or questions in advance, that he would so overthink it that it wouldn't come out right. So he'd rather just hear the question and answer it. How many politicians or people in general ever are that open?
He was incredible to interview. He really, really was. And, well, he just was. I mean, read the book. There's some fascinating stories that some that he's told before. But it was interesting to hear him especially talk about his relationship, talking about Nevada politics and the history of his relationship during the time when Bill Raggio and Sig Rogich both supported him over Sharon Angle, and it was detrimental to their good standing as Republicans. But I think they both said in their own way they were Nevadans before they were members of the Grand Old Party.
You know, I think that's one of the things that people don't really understand, the general public, is how pragmatic politicians and lobbyists, especially good lobbyists, have to be. So even if they appear to be solid R's or D's or independents or whatever they might be, when it really comes down to it, they need to get things done, whether they are the electeds or the lobbyists.
I think that was their reason for supporting the senator during that difficult period of his own reelection. It was quite close, as you know.
Well, Senator, I don't know if it was that close in the end. You know, that's one of the great stories. And, you know, it's so funny because...
There were closer ones in his case, yeah.
Well, the Ensign Reid one, yes. But you know, would politics be such an exciting thing and such a close thing if the media didn't always say, it's too close to call, you know, it's within a point or whatever. The truth is, and this story came out after the election, the pollster for Harry Reid came out and said that right after the primary that they were 6 points ahead and they never fell behind the entire campaign. That is not a slim margin. But they didn't come out and say that publicly because they had to raise money, and you can't raise money if you're going to be, you know, Mark Amadei always has a problem raising money, and I'm sure Dina Titus until recently has had the same problem, because if you expect them to win, why do you want to give them money?
Right, right.
So interesting days there. Sig Rogich said to me that who do you want sitting at the table negotiating on the water rights for the Colorado River? He said, you know, somebody brand new or somebody who has the experience and leadership of Harry Reid.
Well, that's what's great about Nevadans. I mean, you know, we have that kind of libertarian streak within people, and you see that in the book, also in their spiritual views as well. It's sort of a respect for individual freedom, personal responsibility, and people coming down on issues the way they see them, not some outside force or organization.
One of the people that I was a little surprised that sat down and actually talked to you, even though I'm sure you have had a good relationship with her, was Elaine Wynn. Because I've given up, but I tried for years through email to get her to come on Newsmakers and was never able to accomplish it.
Well, she was quite fascinating and not easy to get. I had served with her on the Board of Education, so I had a little bit of a relationship there, and that maybe helped. It was difficult to get her to talk about her previous husband, the other partner in the Wynn miracle. So she really didn't talk about Steve at all, and I didn't press her on it. She did say, though, at the very end, yes, I've certainly learned some lessons from people in my life, and I suspect she was referring to her former husband.
And I think that she has done so much in her own right, especially in the field of education, that she deserves to stand alone.
Well, in the business world as well,
Yes,
I
yes.
learned how respected she has been for reforms really supported by her as much as anyone else at the Wynn that have distinguished them as a gaming property. And I think she takes credit, especially from among those who know the inside of the gaming world, how much she's contributed to that field.
Well, if she had not been the businesswoman that she is, then I doubt that Phil Satry would have ended up taking over as chairman of Wynn, and that was really what saved the company, in my opinion.
Yes. You know, one of the amazing things about her story and most of the people, Sig Rogich's or on down the list, is how normal and sometimes quite humble the backgrounds. Shelley Berkeley, I mean, I can just go down the list. Sig Rogich never had a TV because his family, grew up, his dad was on the Hoover Dam project and they lived in public housing. Now he made television commercials for U.S. presidents. So it was amazing, including Lang Wynn, how humble and normal their families were growing up and go on to become such distinguished and successful folks.
I have been fortunate enough in the last few years to meet and interview several billionaires. And the thing that has surprised me about them, and I don't know why it surprises me, is what you're saying, how normal they are. And they tend to be, you ask them a question, you get a straight answer. They're not glossying it up or embellishing it. It's like, well, this is a good idea or this is a bad idea, and here's why. It's really fascinating to talk to them.
Well, there were a lot of personal things that came out. And I think as we had, I spent about 2 to 3 hours with each person when all was said and done. And they talked a lot about their personal and their professional challenges in life and how they've grown through them. And almost to a person, how reassuring it was to see how good Nevadans are, even some of them who are rich and famous.
Well, I don't think being rich and famous
I don't either.
is a bad thing.
Not at all, no. But to some people might think that.
Yeah, on the other side of the coin, though, I mean, one of the reasons that Americans, consistently vote against things like the death taxes or make their opinions known that they don't want to see is they expect to be rich themselves. I mean, isn't that what our country is all about?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, the reason we have problems at the border is the whole world wants to come to America.
That's right. Yeah. If only, we Americans, not by choice, but by chance, love the country as much as some of the people who want to be here do, we might be in better shape.
I think international travel would help. I think that more Americans need to travel more and take advantage of, lower cost airfares and talk to people in other parts of the world. I remember we were in Croatia a few years ago, and our host at the Airbnb was talking to us about COVID at the time. And he said, well, the good thing about America is that you can afford to shut down. He said, here in Croatia, we can't afford to shut down, so we have to keep working. And I thought, what an interesting juxtaposition. You don't think about that in terms of how wealthy the United States is, that we could have done something like that. The rest of the world had to keep working. So an interesting juxtaposition. One of the people that you put at the top of your list is Frankie Sudell Papa. I always regretted that she didn't actually run for governor. I think that she would have been a very interesting choice as the first female governor. We still don't have a first female governor.
No, I think her chapter title was First Nevadan, and she was the first Nevada woman at many things. Secretary of State, AG, first female student body president at the University of Nevada, Reno, and was in line and probably had the name to go along with it and the popularity to be governor. But at that time, the powers that be from the gaming world and others withheld their support. It's interesting how she's dealt with it, because I tried to detect if there were any regrets or resentments, and while she admitted it wasn't easy, she's really passed through all of those things and has transcended, I think, her feelings, and is, really now like an elderly stateswoman and a very interesting person. She took one of the great lines in the book talking about the afterlife. She said, and she's a Catholic, but it's kind of a Buddhist, but she said she remembered reading about Steve Jobs, who on his deathbed allegedly said, "Wow, oh wow, wow," and that made her curious about what comes next.
Well, that's a very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what he saw, and apparently he didn't comment further. He was there or not.
Well, I don't know if anybody cares but me, but I was in an interesting scenario a few years ago where my heart was racing at an incredible speed, a really incredible speed. Mm. And I was in the back of an ambulance with lights and sirens heading to the hospital. Mm. And I thought to myself, this could be it. This could be the end. And I was very calm, and I felt that I've had this incredible life. Mm. And if this was the end, then I'm not going to complain. But I do feel I have more things to do, so I hope I make it. And luckily I did.
Most people said the same thing. I'm anticipating it, but I'm in no big hurry, speaking to whoever might decide those things. But to a person...
In my case, it was the emergency room doctor
well,
who decided that thing.
You didn't ask him if he was a Republican or a Democrat.
Of course not.
Yeah. Like
you know something? I don't ask anybody that. It's like people are people. That's part of the problem in our country, is that we had so many things that we didn't discuss before in public. We kept them to ourselves. And now with social media and so much news programming, in quotes, that they're filling the time, that, I'd rather just sit down and talk to you and have a conversation rather than delve into, are you an R, are you a D, are you a Catholic, are you a Jew, I don't care.
And those things were not important to even a number of the political people in the book. It was more their values, their relationships, their families. Many have begun their own life review without there being any religious implication there, but just looking back at their lives and for the most part feeling they've lived good lives and they hope for the best.
All right, let's take a break and we'll be right back with Pat Hickey after this time out.
They want us to believe we only have two options. That's just not working anymore. I've never been a follower. I'm a businessman and entrepreneur. I'm ready to forge a new path to secure our future, one that keeps Northern Nevada free, fair, and wild. A path that means freedom for all, including affordable housing.
I'm Greg Kidd, and I approve this message because I'm not from either political party. I'm for Nevada.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Pat Hickey. His book is called Here and Hereafter, Nevada Voices on Life and the Great Beyond. I kind of think I know why, but I'm curious to have you answer. Why did you want to explore what people thought in the great beyond?
Well, because I've always been curious about it myself. But again, I didn't think I could write a book about, no one really knows, regardless of what they think or believe, although there's a whole lot of research. And I did teach a class on proof of the existence of the afterlife during COVID to educate myself. And I found out there's all kinds of research being done. And I found through interviewing people that a lot of them have had premonitions or experiences with a passed away parent or family member. So a lot of folks have kind of come to the conclusion, some who are even agnostic or atheistic, including Penn Jillette, who's a very convicted and compelling atheist. But everyone thinks about those things, and I did too. And I thought, well, I'd just like to learn what others think about them as well.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Story County is leading Nevada. Home of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, Google, Tesla, Panasonic, and other world-leading companies. Story County provides thousands of tech, advanced manufacturing, and logistics careers for Nevadans. We're diversifying and driving Nevada's economy and generating millions in tax revenue and billions in economic activity across northern Nevada. Story County is leading Nevada's future.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Here on 7 at 7, we're bringing you the local headlines in just 7 minutes.
We've got you covered in the morning, evening, and for all breaking news in between and as it happens.
Life is busy, and we don't waste your time. Join us for local news now streaming on our YouTube page.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Pat Hickey, the former assemblyman and now author, Here and Hereafter, Nevada Voices on Life and the Great Beyond. Available everywhere?
Available on my website
Okay.
at pathickey.net. Bunch of showings, Nevada or readings, Nevada Museum of Art and Barnes and Nobles and things. But I haven't put it on Amazon yet.
Why?
Because it's kind of like a first edition thing. So I'm selling it. Just a lot of the people in the book have purchased quite a number of copies since they haven't written their memoirs to share with family and friends and colleagues. It'll eventually get there. I honestly, I can make a little more money without going to Amazon right away.
Did any of the people that you interviewed feel that this was a cathartic experience of spending 3 hours talking to you about their lives?
I don't think it was that for any of them, but I think they were glad to talk about deeper things or talk about their lives. Usually when they're interviewed by a quote unquote journalist, it's not to talk about those things. The one I had some problem with over the title was Lance Gilman, who loved his chapter and bought a ton of books, by the way. But he wanted it, I called it the art of the spiel, somewhat patterned after Trump's art of the deal. He wanted to be the art of the sale. But I told him anyone that, can build something in the desert he has a pretty good spiel. So he eventually agreed to that.
Who was the person that most surprised you with the interview?
I was very fascinated by Rini Reed, who had been a Catholic nun.
Former Washoe County Commissioner?
Yes, she had been a Catholic nun who married a Catholic priest. And talking about that whole experience was quite fascinating. A number of the people were fascinating.
Okay. Why was that one fascinating?
Well,
I mean, apart from the obvious.
Well, just reflecting on issues related at the time for both of them. It was quite it was quite shocking to people in their immediate families and their surroundings. So it was just the issues that came up as a result of doing something as unorthodox as that.
So, Brian Sandoval.
Yeah.
Bill Raggio, not quoted to me, but has been quoted many times, saying that he thought that Brian Sandoval could go all the way to be president of the United States. He became president, but he was president of UNR. He has a fascinating story because he took so many jobs, but, and I'm not going to argue about the length of time, but I mean, apart from governor, most of them were not as long-lived as one might have expected, but a fascinating man.
Oh, absolutely fascinating. And, one of the things, he was one of really the first Hispanic families in northern Nevada, but has never really rolled back and talked about what it was like growing up. He does in this chapter, and some of the things he encountered that, we would consider would have been difficult for him, but he certainly never played the victim's role in anything. I think he certainly could have gone to the U.S. Senate as a former Republican leader alongside of him. I would have supported him to go all the way.
Still could.
Yeah.
That's where we have to leave it. Best of luck with this book. It's a great idea, and you've got some fantastic people. So Here and Hereafter, Nevada Voices on Life and the Great Beyond, Pat Hickey. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sam.
And we'll be right back.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
It happens. And when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day on various platforms, including television, radio, our website, audio and video podcasts, and YouTube. If you want to find the show, you can find it pretty darn easily. And we cover politics, business, health, and education. Thanks for watching. We'll see you